I was thinking as I was doing that last video, I was talking about being raised by psychopaths. Having trouble with this thing. I got to look right into the fucking lens, and I always look away. So I was thinking about all the division within mgtow, which trying to get a bunch of men to agree on something is, like they say, like herding cats. Not gonna happen. But we do agree on one thing and one thing alone, I believe. And if I'm wrong, please leave a comment. But my belief is that we all agree that society today is very gynocentric and it's unfair to men. Now, there are a couple of schools of thought, guys out there that want to, men out there who want to date, continue to have relationships with the Matrix. And hey, that's fine. If that's your thing, that's what you want to do, good. You know, there are men out there that just want to focus on themselves, and just improve, whether you're lifting weights or whatever. And then there are the guys that are kind of in both worlds, monk some of the time, ghosting some of the other time, and then dating. Now, myself, I see the division within mgtow for one reason that's very plain, and that is that a lot of people have not dealt with the issues that they had as a child. And if you don't deal with those issues, and those issues have led to your downfall already, then they're going to continue until you tackle those issues. Now, I know from being in Alcoholics Anonymous for 28 years or 30 years or whatever the fuck it was, that if we didn't do a great deal of what they call a personal inventory, in other words, listing those things which get in the way of your effectiveness in whatever you want to do in life, I think when I apply it to MGTOW, that's the way I think of it. So anyway, I think what's happened out there is you've got this. I'm not going to name any names because I really don't know anything, and I haven't. If I'm not, actually a part of something, I don't want to make a comment. But I see a lot of division, and I see a lot of division because, seriously, you don't take care of those problems, you're going to end up with, fucking lady boys or going to Asia or having that. What it is it's a pussy addiction. It is another fucking addiction. Just like alcohol, just like drugs, it's a fucking addiction. So why are these men pussy addicted? Well, like any addiction, it feels good, so you want to keep doing it. But the problem is that pussy addiction is almost worse than drugs and alcohol. Because pussy addiction is one of those things that, like smoking, it's not killing you right now, so it's not that big a deal, but it will kill you. I mean, for most men, if you don't die from suicide, and you don't get raped in divorce court, then you're going to end up living a life of quiet desperation. Now, every man I know that's married is living this life of quiet desperation. And, even though he break free of that particular jail, he's still going to have that jail in between his ears. And unless you deal with that type of jail that you or I or any of us can build for ourselves, you're going to be stuck in that jail forever. And you're going to continue to make the same mistakes. And what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up going down for it. And you don't want that. We don't want that. There are a lot of good men out there that have gone by the wayside. Couldn't control, their urges, and they went back to, you know, going out with women and same old thing. And what I found for my own self, last year I went out with the Uber driver lady, and what I found was, even though I had red pill knowledge, I drifted back into that real bad blue pill world. And you know what I'm talking about, that one where we think, oh yeah, I'm Captain Save-A-Ho. Fuck that shit. When I found myself in that position, I just bailed out quick because it was just bad. And, thank God you guys were there. So yeah, the last year I've been looking at my own situation, and I can see where if I hadn't tried to go back and fix some of the things in my past that have made me susceptible to the lifestyle I had before I found MGTOW. I'll just say it like that. Everyone has a label for like blue pill hell or whatever. I would just say the lifestyle that I had before I found MGTOW, right? Well, what led to that? My parents. They prepared me for the world, right? Some people only have a mom or a dad or, a grandmother or some kind of a caretaker. So we adopt those attitudes and outlooks on life, and then we end up really in a position where we are unable to distinguish the real from the false. I think that's the whole mystery, is that yes, we can meet with Morpheus. We can take that fucking red pill, whoever your Morpheus is, and we can understand the Matrix. But in order to fully escape the Matrix, you have to go back and look at that life you had. What part of it was real? What part of your parents' conditioning really was a fact? It wasn't. It was their feelings. And so the division that we see within mgtow, the division that we see is because of the dysfunction of men and because of the pussy addiction. You can be a fucking alcoholic or an addict, whether you're addicted to gambling, pussy, love, whatever the fuck it is. You can be an addict and be in remission for quite a while. But when you go back out and you drink again, it's bad, because then that you have all that knowledge like you would with mgtow, right? Let's say you're an alcoholic and you go for 2 years without drinking, and you think, well, shit, I can pick it up again. I haven't had a drink for 2 years. If your body had developed the habit and your mind had developed the habit together, you've got a very slim chance of being a normal drinker. Now, if you stay out of gonocentric relationships, you probably could. I mean, I've had points in my life where, yeah, I drink just fine and I have a good time. I'm not doing it now just because I want to healthy up. I want to get feeling better. But yeah, I think the division within mgtow, if I look at it from my point of view, the division that we have is because men have not dealt with the issues in their past, and they continue to make the same mistakes. They say misery loves company. They want to drag other people into that. Look, man, we all have a libertarian outlook, or we wouldn't be in mgtow to begin with. Not necessarily a libertarian, just, we don't like labels. We don't like all that shit. Well, I say we. I really just mean me, because you're only going to get my opinion. So look, got to deal with the issues. And the issues aren't just women. Pointing the finger at somebody else and saying they're the problem, that's only half the answer. The other answer is looking you in the mirror. So I would suggest getting to work. I did make a reference to a book in the last video called Understanding Borderline Mothers. And I would highly recommend that book for all men to read. Whether you read it and pass it on to a friend, I think that it really lays out the disorganized dysfunction of women to a T. When I read that book, it really helped me. It helped me understand where I came from. So anyway, I'm not here to sell a book. I'm not here to ask for your money. I don't give a shit about that. If you like the video, go ahead and hit the like button. You can always subscribe. And, my email address is the same as my name, gregsilverado@gmail.com. So send me an email if you like, or leave a comment below. And, we'll make some more videos for you later. Thanks, gentlemen, and have a good day.